Ian Foster adjusted his tie in the rearview mirror of his decade-old Honda Accord, a knot of anxiety tightening in his chest. The wedding invitation had arrived 3 months ago, and he'd nearly thrown it away, who wanted to watch their cousin marry into the family of their first love. But his daughter Emma had insisted, saying it would be good for him to get out more, as if being a single father working 2 jobs left much room for a social life. Now here he was, parked outside the grandest hotel in Boston, about to face the woman who'd broken his heart 15 years ago. "Dad, you look like you're about to face a firing squad," Emma said, fixing her own hair in the passenger side mirror. At 13, she was already showing the same sharp perception that had defined her mother, who'd left them when Emma was just 3. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just been a while since I've been to something this fancy." Ian smoothed down his only suit, purchased for job interviews and funerals, now pressed into service for his cousin Tyler's wedding. "Is it because Aunt Veronica might be here?" Emma asked, her innocent question landing like a punch to his gut. Ian took a deep breath. "Veronica Blackburn isn't my Aunt Em. She's just someone I used to know a long time ago. Before Mom?" "Yes, before your mom." Long before the hasty marriage to Emma's mother, before the divorce, before the years of struggling to make ends meet as a carpenter while raising a daughter alone. Emma nodded sagely, as if she understood the complexities of adult relationships. "Well, I think it's romantic." "Maybe you'll fall in love again," Ian laughed, ruffling her hair despite her protests. "Not likely, kiddo. Now come on, we don't want to be late." The hotel ballroom was transformed into a wonderland of white flowers and twinkling lights. Ian and Emma found their seats at a table near the back, exactly where Ian had hoped to be inconspicuous. He scanned the room nervously, searching for a familiar face he both longed and dreaded to see. "Dad, stop fidgeting," Emma whispered as the ceremony began. The wedding procession started, and Ian's attention focused on his cousin Tyler, looking happier than he'd ever seen him. The bride, Madison, was radiant as she walked down the aisle, her father beaming proudly beside her. Ian felt a pang of envy not for the marriage itself, but for the obvious joy and financial security that surrounded the couple. It was during the reception, as Ian was helping himself to a modest portion of food from the lavish buffet, that he heard a laugh that stopped him in his tracks. A laugh he would recognize anywhere, even after 15 years. His hand froze midair, a serving spoon of mashed potatoes suspended in space. "You always did love potatoes," came a warm, feminine voice from behind him. Ian turned slowly, his heart hammering against his ribs. And there she was, Veronica Blackburn, more beautiful than he remembered. Her dark hair was shorter now, falling in elegant waves around her face, and she wore a simple but clearly expensive navy blue dress that accentuated her figure. "Veronica," he managed, placing the spoon back in the dish before he dropped it. "I didn't expect to see you here." Her smile was genuine, reaching her eyes in a way that made his chest ache. "Madison is my goddaughter. I wouldn't miss this for the world." She paused, studying him. "It's been a long time, Ian." 15 years, he said automatically, then felt foolish for keeping count. "You look good," she said, and he almost laughed at the polite lie. "You too," he replied, and that was no lie. She looked incredible, with a poise and confidence that seemed to radiate from within. There was something else too, a subtle aura of authority he didn't remember from before. An awkward silence stretched between them, filled with unasked questions and unspoken regrets. So, they both started at the same time, then laughed nervously. "You first," Ian offered. "I was just going to ask what you've been up to all these years," Veronica said, taking a sip from her champagne flute. Before Ian could answer, Emma appeared at his side, eyeing Veronica with undisguised curiosity. "Dad, they're about to cut the cake," Emma said, then extended her hand to Veronica with startling maturity. "I'm Emma Foster." Veronica's eyes widened slightly as she took in the girl, then softened as she shook Emma's hand. "Veronica Blackburn," It's lovely to meet you, Emma. Are you the Veronica my dad used to date in college? Emma asked bluntly, ignoring Ian's mortified expression. Veronica's laugh was like wind chimes. I am indeed. Your dad and I were close once. Emma, Ian intervened. Why don't you go save us some cake? His daughter gave him a knowing look but complied, leaving him alone with Veronica again. She's beautiful, Ian, Veronica said softly. You must be very proud. She's my whole world, he admitted. Smart as a whip too, gets straight as without even trying. Just like her father then, Veronica smiled. You were always the smartest person in the room. Ian shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. Not smart enough to finish college. Something flashed in Veronica's eyes, surprise, perhaps disappointment. You didn't graduate, but you were so close. Life happened, he said simply, not wanting to get into his financial struggles, the rushed marriage when Emma's mother got pregnant, the divorce, the years of scraping by. Anyway, what about you? I heard you went to law school. Veronica nodded, a slight flush coloring her cheeks. I did. I work in corporate law now. She glanced around, as if checking who might be listening, then added, It keeps me busy. Before Ian could probe further, the DJ announced the cake cutting, and they were swept along with the crowd. For the rest of the evening, Ian caught only glimpses of Veronica across the room, always surrounded by people who seemed to hang on her every word. She moved with an ease through the crowd that spoke of someone accustomed to being listened to, respected. As the night wound down, Ian was gathering their things, preparing to leave, when Veronica approached their table again. Leaving so soon? She asked, a note of disappointment in her voice. It's getting late, and Emma has school tomorrow, Ian explained, though in truth he was also eager to escape the reminder of what might have been. Of course, Veronica said, then hesitated. Ian, it was really good to see you again. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Maybe we could catch up properly sometime, she suggested. Coffee, perhaps? Ian was stunned by the invitation. Sure, that would be nice. Veronica smiled, pulling a business card from her small clutch and handing it to him. My personal number is on the back, call me. Ian took the card, his fingers brushing against hers, sending a jolt of electricity up his arm. I will, he promised, though part of him doubted he'd have the courage. As they drove home, Emma was uncharacteristically quiet, staring out the window at the passing city lights. You okay, Em? Ian asked, concerned by her silence. She likes you, Emma said finally, turning to face him. Veronica, I could tell. Ian shook his head, focusing on the road. It's not like that, we're just old friends. Dad, I'm 13, not 3. I know what it looks like when someone's interested. She paused. And I think you like her too. Ian didn't deny it, which was answer enough for Emma. You should call her, Emma declared. Promise me you will. Ian sighed, the business card burning a hole in his pocket. We'll see, Em, we'll see. 3 days later, Ian still hadn't called. He'd taken the business card out dozens of times, staring at the elegant, embossed lettering on the front. Veronica Blackburn, Chief Executive Officer, Blackburn Enterprises. The title had surprised him. She downplayed her position considerably. A quick internet search had left him reeling. Blackburn Enterprises was a multi-billion-dollar technology and investment firm with offices in 12 countries. Veronica wasn't just a corporate lawyer. She was running one of the largest privately owned companies in the country. No wonder she'd seemed so poised, so confident. The girl he'd known in college, brilliant but uncertain about her future, had become a titan of industry. And what was he? A carpenter with a mountain of debt and a mortgage he could barely afford. He was about to put the card away again when his phone rang. Emma, calling from her friend's house where she was spending the night. Dad, have you called her yet? She demanded without preamble. Emma, it's complicated. No, it's not. You're just scared. Ian sighed. When had his daughter become so perceptive? Maybe I am, she's. Not the same person I knew, Em. Neither are you, Emma pointed out logically. That's how time works, Dad. People change. Doesn't mean you can't like who she is now. Ian glanced at the card again, at the handwritten number on the back. What if she's just being polite? Then you'll have coffee, catch up, and that's it. But what if she's not? Emma's voice softened. Dad, you've spent my whole life taking care of me. Maybe it's time you let someone take care of you too. After hanging up, Ian sat for a long time, Emma's words echoing in his mind. Finally, with a deep breath, he dialed the number. Veronica answered on the third ring. This is Veronica. Veronica, it's Ian. Ian Foster from the wedding. There was a pause, and he was about to apologize for calling when she spoke, her voice warm. Ian, I was hoping you'd call. They arranged to meet for coffee the following afternoon at a small cafe halfway between his job site and her downtown office. Ian spent the morning in a state of nervous anticipation, checking his watch every few minutes, earning good-natured ribbing from his coworkers. He arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, choosing a table by the window. When Veronica walked in, every head turned. She wore a simple white blouse and dark tailored pants, her only jewelry a pair of pearl earrings and a slim watch, but she radiated an elegance that made the casual outfit look like high fashion. Ian, she smiled, sliding into the seat across from him. Thank you for calling. Thank my daughter, he admitted. She practically ordered me to. Veronica laughed. I like her already. She seems like a remarkable young woman. She is, Ian agreed, his pride evident. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. They ordered coffee, and for a while, the conversation flowed easily as they caught up on the superficial details of their lives. Ian told her about Emma's achievements in school, her passion for science and math, how she was already talking about college despite being years away. Veronica shared stories about her travels, the places her work had taken her, carefully avoiding any mention of her obvious success. It was only when they'd finished their second cup that Ian finally addressed the elephant in the room. So, CEO of Blackburn Enterprises, that's impressive. Veronica looked down, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. It wasn't the plan originally. My father built the company and I was just working in the legal department when he got sick, cancer. He asked me to step in temporarily and, well, temporary became permanent. I'm sorry about your father, Ian said sincerely. Thank you. She looked up, meeting his eyes. What about you? You mentioned you didn't finish college. Ian took a deep breath, deciding honesty was the only path forward. I left in my final semester when Emma's mother got pregnant. We got married, I started working construction to support us, and college just never happened. Then Jenny left when Emma was 3, and it's been just the two of us ever since. Veronica's expression was compassionate, without a trace of pity. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, he acknowledged. Still isn't sometimes, but Emma's worth every struggle. And carpentry, do you enjoy it? Ian smiled, genuine for the first time. I do, actually. I love working with my hands, creating something real and tangible. I've specialized in custom furniture. Now it doesn't pay as well as the construction jobs, but it's more satisfying. Veronica leaned forward, clearly interested. Do you have photos of your work? Surprised and pleased by her interest, Ian pulled out his phone, showing her pictures of his latest projects, a hand-carved dining table, a set of bookshelves with intricate inlay work, a rocking chair made for Emma's teacher, who was expecting her first child. Ian, these are beautiful, Veronica said, her admiration genuine. You're an artist. I wouldn't go that far, he demurred, though her praise warmed him. I would, she insisted. Have you ever thought about opening your own shop, focusing on custom pieces full-time? Ian shrugged. The dream's there, but the capital isn't. Custom work doesn't pay the bills consistently enough yet. Veronica nodded thoughtfully, and for a moment, Ian feared she might offer financial help, a prospect that filled him with both hope and dread. But she changed the subject gracefully, asking about his parents, his cousin Tyler, mutual friends from their college days. As their coffee date extended into early evening, Ian found himself relaxing, remembering why he'd fallen for Veronica all those years ago. She was still the same in the ways that mattered: intelligent, thoughtful, with a laugh that made him want to keep talking just to hear it again. But there was a new depth to her, a confidence and wisdom that came from years of making difficult decisions and shouldering responsibility. When they finally parted, standing outside the cafe as the sun began to set, Veronica hesitated. "I'd like to see you again, Ian, if you're interested." "I'd like that too," he said, surprised by how much he meant it. The gap between their worlds seemed less important now than the connection he still felt with her. "There's a gallery opening next weekend," she suggested. "Nothing too formal. Would you like to come? Emma too, if she's interested in art." Ian smiled. "Emma would love that, so would I." As he drove home, Ian felt lighter than he had in years. He wasn't naive enough to think anything would come of this reconnection. Their lives were too different, the gulf between them too wide, but for now, it was enough to have Veronica back in his life, even if only as a friend. Emma was waiting when he got home, practically bouncing with anticipation. "How was it? Did you talk about old times? Did she ask about me? Are you going to see her again?" Ian laughed, dropping his keys on the counter. "Yes to all of the above. In fact, she invited us both to an art gallery opening next weekend." Emma squealed with delight. "Us, both of us. She wants to meet me properly?" "She does," Ian confirmed, touched by his daughter's excitement. "She said you seemed remarkable." "She's right, I am," Emma grinned. "So do you like her? Like her?" Ian rolled his eyes at the teenage terminology. "We're just reconnecting as friends, don't get ahead of yourself." But even as he said it, Ian knew he was lying to himself. The feelings he'd had for Veronica in college hadn't disappeared. They'd just been dormant, waiting for the spark of her presence to ignite them again. The gallery opening was in a trendy part of Boston that Ian rarely visited. He and Emma dressed in their best, him in his one good suit again, her in a blue dress they'd bought for a school concert last year. "You look beautiful, Em," Ian said as they approached the gallery, suddenly nervous about the evening ahead. "So do you, Dad," Emma replied, then frowned. "I mean handsome, not beautiful, but you know what I mean." Ian laughed, grateful for his daughter's ability to ease his anxiety. They entered the gallery, immediately overwhelmed by the crowd of well-dressed patrons sipping champagne and discussing the modern art that covered the walls. "Ian, Emma?" Veronica's voice cut through the noise, and they turned to see her approaching, radiant in a simple red dress that made Ian's heart skip a beat. "You came," she said, as if she doubted they would. "We wouldn't miss it," Ian replied, trying not to stare. Veronica turned to Emma, her smile warm. "I'm so glad you could join us, Emma. Your father tells me you're interested in science and math." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Especially physics. I want to be an astrophysicist someday." "That's wonderful," Veronica said, clearly impressed. "I have a friend who works at MIT's astrophysics department. Perhaps I could introduce you sometime." Emma's eyes widened. "Really? That would be amazing." Ian watched their interaction with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. Veronica was being incredibly kind, but he couldn't help feeling that she was offering glimpses of a world he could never provide for Emma on his own. As the evening progressed, Ian noticed how people deferred to Veronica, how conversations hushed slightly when she approached. It was subtle, but unmistakable she was someone of importance, of influence. Yet she seemed oblivious to it, focusing her attention entirely on Ian and Emma, guiding them through the exhibition, explaining pieces that caught their interest, introducing them to the artist as if they were the most important people in the room. Later, as Emma became engrossed in conversation with a young sculptor whose work she admired, Veronica drew Ian aside. "She's incredible, Ian," she said softly. "You've done an amazing job raising her." "Thank you," he said, watching his daughter gesture animatedly as she discussed the artwork. "She makes it easy." Veronica studied him for a moment. "You're different than I remember. Older, more tired," he joked. "More grounded," she corrected. "More at peace with yourself." Ian considered this. "I suppose that's what responsibility does." "When Emma came along, I had to grow up pretty fast." "It suits you," Veronica said, her gaze lingering on his face. "You always had this restless energy in college, like you were searching for something. You don't have that anymore." "Because I found what matters," he said simply. Something flashed in Veronica's eyes, a longing, perhaps, that surprised him. "I envy that certainty," she admitted. "My life looks perfect on paper, but sometimes I wonder." She trailed off as they were interrupted by a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. "Veronica, darling, the Hendersons are asking for you. Something about that Singapore deal." Veronica's expression shifted subtly, a professional mask sliding into place. "Of course. Jack, this is Ian Foster, an old friend. Ian, Jack Williams, my CFO." The men shook hands, Jack's grip firm, his assessment of Ian swift and dismissive. "Foster, good to meet you. Veronica, don't be too long. The Hendersons are significant investors." As Jack walked away, Veronica turned to Ian apologetically. "I'm sorry, I need to go," Ian said, understanding. "Business doesn't wait. Will you be all right? I shouldn't be long." "We'll be fine," he assured her. "Emma's in heaven right now." Veronica squeezed his arm gratefully before moving away, immediately surrounded by people vying for her attention. Ian watched her go, the gulf between their worlds yawning wide again. Emma rejoined him, her eyes bright with excitement. "Dad, this is amazing. Did you see the sculpture made from recycled tech parts? And Veronica knows everyone." "She does," Ian agreed, not wanting to dampen his daughter's enthusiasm. Emma's expression turned sly. "And she can't take her eyes off you when you're not looking." "Emma," Ian warned. "It's true, she likes you, Dad. A lot." Ian sighed, leading Emma toward a less crowded part of the gallery. "It's complicated. Veronica and I, we live in different worlds now." "So," Emma challenged. "Why does that matter if you care about each other?" The simple logic of a 13-year-old, Ian thought ruefully. If only adult relationships were that straightforward. Veronica rejoined them half an hour later, apologizing profusely for the interruption. She seemed different now, more guarded, the weight of her responsibilities visible in the slight tension around her eyes. "Work never ends, does it?" Ian said sympathetically. "Apparently not," she agreed with a tired smile. "But I'm glad you're still here. Are you hungry? There's a wonderful little restaurant around the corner." They accepted the invitation, and dinner proved to be more relaxed than the gallery. Veronica seemed to shed her CEO persona as they talked, becoming again the woman Ian had spent the afternoon with at the cafe. Emma, initially star-struck by the upscale restaurant, soon relaxed too, chattering about school, her friends, her dreams of space exploration. As the evening drew to a close, Veronica insisted on picking up the check despite Ian's protests. Outside the restaurant, she hesitated. "I have a favor to ask," she said, uncharacteristically uncertain. "My family has a lake house about 2 hours from here. I'm heading up there next weekend to get away from work for a few days. Would you both like to join me? Just for Saturday, or the whole weekend if you can." Ian was taken aback by the invitation. A weekend away together seemed like a significant step. Emma, sensing his hesitation, jumped in. "We'd love to, right, Dad?" Ian looked at his daughter's hopeful face, then at Veronica's cautiously optimistic one. Yes, we'd like that, but are you sure? I don't want to impose on your vacation time." "You wouldn't be," Veronica assured him. "The house is far too big for just me, and I'd enjoy the company. Truly." And so it was arranged. The following Friday afternoon, Ian picked Emma up early from school, and they drove north, following Veronica's directions to a secluded lake in New Hampshire. As they turned onto a private road, Emma gasped at the scenery-pristine forest surrounding a crystal-clear lake, the afternoon sun glinting off the water. "Dad, it's like a postcard," she exclaimed, pressing her face against the window. Ian had to agree. It was beautiful, peaceful in a way that made the tension in his shoulders, a constant companion these days, begin to ease. They rounded a bend, and the lake house came into view. Ian nearly drove off the road. House was an understatement. The structure before them was a magnificent modern lodge, all glass and stone and timber, sprawling along the lakeshore with multiple decks and what appeared to be a private dock. Whoa, Emma breathed. Veronica must be, like, super rich. Emma, that's not polite, Ian admonished, though he was thinking the same thing. He'd known Veronica was successful, but this property spoke of wealth beyond what he'd imagined. Veronica was waiting for them on the main deck, casual in jeans and a light sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She waved as they parked, coming down to meet them with a warmth that eased Ian's sudden discomfort. You found it. Welcome to my favorite place on earth, she said, embracing Emma first, then Ian, her touch lingering just a moment longer than necessary. This is incredible, Ian said honestly, taking in the surroundings. How long has your family had this place? My father built it about 20 years ago, Veronica explained, leading them inside. It was his retreat from the business world. Now it's mine. The interior was just as impressive as the exterior, soaring ceilings, a massive stone fireplace, walls of windows overlooking the lake. But despite its grandeur, it felt comfortable, lived in, with books scattered on tables and soft throws draped over couches. I've put you both in the East Wing, Veronica said, showing them to their rooms. Emma, you're here, and Ian, you're next door. There's a shared bathroom between. I hope that's all right. It's perfect, Ian assured her, trying not to be overwhelmed by the luxury surrounding them. I'll let you get settled, Veronica said. Meet me on the deck when you're ready. I thought we could take the boat out before dinner. Once she'd left, Emma turned to Ian, her eyes wide. Dad, she's not just rich, she's like mega rich. This place must be worth millions. Emma, Ian said firmly, Veronica's wealth doesn't define her. She's still the same person regardless of her bank account. Emma looked skeptical. Is that why you look like you're about to bolt? Ian sighed, sitting on the edge of the bed. It's just a lot to take in. I knew she was successful, but this is another level entirely. Does it change how you feel about her? Emma asked, suddenly serious. Ian considered the question, did it? The Veronica he was reconnecting with was still the woman he'd loved, intelligent, compassionate, with that same laugh that made his heart skip. But now, there was this enormous disparity between them, a gulf of wealth and status that seemed impossible to bridge. I don't know, Em, he admitted finally. It complicates things. Emma sat beside him, leaning her head on his shoulder. I think you're overthinking it. She likes you for you, Dad, not for what you have or don't have. Ian put his arm around his daughter, marveling at her wisdom. When did you get so smart about relationships? I watch a lot of Netflix, she grinned. The weekend unfolded in a dreamlike sequence of simple pleasures. They took Veronica's boat out on the lake, fished off the dock, Emma catching the biggest trout to her delight, hiked through the surrounding woods, and spent evenings by the fire, talking late into the night after Emma had gone to bed. It was during one of these fireside conversations, with a glass of wine in hand and the soft crackling of flames providing a gentle backdrop, that Veronica finally broached the subject they'd been dancing around. Why did we lose touch, Ian? She asked quietly. After college, I mean. We said we'd stay connected, but... Ian stared into his wine glass, searching for the right words. Life got in the way, I suppose. Different paths. Veronica studied him, the firelight casting soft shadows across her face. Is that really it? Because I remember calling you, writing to you. The responses just stopped. Ian sighed, the old pain resurfacing. You were heading to law school, building this amazing future. I was working construction, barely making ends meet. What did I have to offer you? Yourself, Veronica said simply. That would have been enough. Would it? Ian challenged gently. Your father never approved of me, even in college. He had bigger plans for you, and he was right. Look at what you've accomplished. Veronica set down her wine glass, turning to face him fully. My father was wrong about a lot of things, Ian, including you. And yes, I've built this successful career, this life that looks perfect from the outside. But do you know what I've learned? Success means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with. The vulnerability in her voice caught him off guard. You could have anyone, Veronica. Why reach out to me after all this time? Because no one else has ever understood me the way you did, she admitted. Because when I saw you at that wedding with your daughter, I realized what I've been missing all these years. Someone real, someone who sees me, not my position or my wealth. Ian's heart raced as she reached for his hand, her fingers twining with his. I've never stopped thinking about you, Ian, about what might have been if we'd made different choices. Veronica, he began, but she shook her head. I'm not asking for promises or declarations. I just want a chance. A chance to see if there's still something between us worth exploring. Ian looked at their joined hands, at this woman who had once been his whole world and who, despite all logic and reason, still made his heart race like no one else ever had. What about all this? He gestured around them, at the luxury that surrounded them. I can't compete with this life you've built. I can't provide this for you. Veronica's laugh was soft, without a trace of mockery. Ian, do you think this is what I care about? The house, the company, the money, they're just things. Things that, yes, make life comfortable, but they don't make life meaningful. She squeezed his hand. What I've seen this weekend the way you are with Emma, the man you've become, that's worth more than all of this combined. Ian wanted to believe her, wanted it with a desperation that surprised him. But doubt lingered. And what happens when we go back to reality? When you're running your empire and I'm installing kitchen cabinets, how do we bridge that gap? One day at a time, Veronica said. Like anyone else trying to make a relationship work. The money, the different careers, those are just external factors, Ian. They're not who we are. She leaned forward, her eyes reflecting the dancing flames. The question isn't whether we can overcome those differences. It's whether what we feel for each other is worth trying for. And I think it is. Don't you? In that moment, looking into her eyes, Ian knew she was right. The gap between their worlds seemed less important than the connection they still shared, the understanding that had always existed between them. Yes, he said finally. It's worth trying for. The rest of the weekend passed in a haze of newfound possibility. They were careful around Emma, keeping their rekindled connection subtle, but Ian's daughter was too perceptive to miss the change between them, the lingering glances, the casual touches, the private smiles. So, Emma said on Sunday as they packed to leave, are you and Veronica dating now? Ian paused, considering how to answer. We're exploring that possibility. Would that be okay with you? Emma rolled her eyes. Dad, I've been trying to make this happen since the wedding. Of course it's okay. Ian laughed, pulling her into a hug. Just remember, it's early days and complicated. Love is always complicated, Emma said with the certainty of youth. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. As they said their goodbyes, Veronica pulled Ian aside for a moment of privacy. I have to go to London for business next week, she said. But when I get back, I'd like to take you out to dinner, just the two of us. I'd like that, Ian said, his hand finding hers. And maybe, Veronica added, a hint of mischief in her smile, you could show me your workshop. I've been thinking about commissioning some custom furniture for the house. Ian recognized the gesture for what it was, not charity, but a genuine interest in his craft, a way to support his dreams without undermining his pride. I'd be honored, he said, and meant it. As they drove home, the lake house disappearing behind them, Ian felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years. The road ahead was uncertain, the differences between their worlds still real, but for the first time in a long time, he was looking forward to the future with hope rather than resignation. Dad, Emma said as they neared Boston, the city skyline appearing in the distance. I'm really happy for you, for both of you. Ian reached over, squeezing his daughter's hand. Me too, Em, me too. 1 year later, Ian stood in the workshop behind his new furniture studio in Boston's South End, putting the finishing touches on a walnut dining table. The space around him was filled with the scent of wood and varnish, the tools of his trade hanging neatly on the walls. The bell above the front door chimed, and he heard Emma's voice greeting the visitor. A moment later, Veronica appeared in the workshop doorway, elegant as always in a simple dress, a stark contrast to his sawdust-covered clothes. "There you are," she smiled, crossing to kiss him. "How's the Henderson Commission coming along?" "Just finished," Ian said proudly, gesturing to the table. "What do you think?" Veronica ran her hand along the smooth surface, admiring the craftsmanship. "It's beautiful. They're going to love it." Ian watched her, still amazed sometimes that this was his life now. The past year had been a journey of adjustment and compromise. Veronica had scaled back her work hours, delegating more to her capable executive team. Ian had accepted her investment in his furniture business, a proper business loan with fair terms, allowing him to open the studio he'd always dreamed of while maintaining his independence. They'd found a balance, a way to bridge their different worlds that respected both. Ian still lived in his modest home with Emma, though Veronica stayed over often. They spent weekends at the lake house, had dinner with Veronica's business associates sometimes, and other nights ate takeout in Ian's small kitchen. It wasn't perfect. They had disagreements, moments of doubt, times when the gulf between their backgrounds seemed insurmountable. But they worked through each challenge with honesty and respect. "Emma says her science project is ready for the fair tomorrow," Veronica said, moving to wrap her arms around his waist from behind. "She's nervous, but I think she'll do great," Ian replied, leaning back into her embrace. "Thanks for connecting her with Dr. Chen. His mentorship has meant the world to her. She's a brilliant girl," Veronica said. "She just needed the opportunity to shine." Ian turned in her arms, facing her. "Like someone else I know," he said softly. Veronica's smile turned thoughtful. "I've been thinking, Ian. The lease on your house is up next month." "I know," he sighed. "Rent's going up too. I'm not sure we can swing it, even with the business doing well." "Move in with me," Veronica said simply. Ian blinked, surprised by the directness of the proposal. "To the penthouse." "Veronica, I don't know if—" "Not the penthouse," she interrupted. "I'm selling it. I thought maybe we could find a place together, something that's ours, not mine or yours, a fresh start." Ian studied her face, seeing the hope and love reflected there. "Are you sure?" "Your penthouse is amazing, and it's just a place," Veronica finished for him. "Ian, this past year has taught me what really matters, and it's not the address or the square footage. It's being with you and Emma, creating a home together." Ian felt a surge of emotion, of gratitude for this woman who had re-entered his life and changed it so completely. "I love you," he said, the words still new enough to feel special every time. "I love you too," she replied, kissing him softly. "So, is that a yes?" "It's a yes," he confirmed. "But on one condition." Veronica raised an eyebrow. "Which is?" "I get to build our dining table." Her laughter filled the workshop, bright and clear. "I wouldn't have it any other way." As they left the studio together, Emma waiting for them outside, Ian reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From college sweethearts to strangers to finding each other again across a crowded wedding reception. From a struggling single father and a lonely CEO to a family being built day by day, choice by choice. Their story wasn't perfect or easy, but it was theirs, a testament to the fact that sometimes love finds a way back, stronger than before. And that was worth more than all the wealth in the world.